You are listening to Insights with Kathleen. Please join me while I share my insights and experiences with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself for the answers that you already have. As with all information we receive, take what speaks to you and leave the rest. Hey, everybody.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good.
I had a case of the giggles earlier.
I think I was right there with you.
Right?
So, Sherry.
So, Kathleen.
A little birdie tells me.
Little birdie. How big this birdie?
It's about as big as you.
Dang, that's a big bird.
Yeah, maybe because it was you.
Maybe it was me. Okay,
Yeah,
the little birdie named me told you.
That you have a topic for us today.
Yes, I finally have a topic for us, which I guess is kind of cheating because I said what I was going through and you're like, that's a good topic. And I was like, yeah. So like, did I come up with a topic?
Basically, you did.
Basically, I did. So I guess the biggest thing is, like, I've noticed, I'm in school right now, and I'm noticing a lot about myself. And a big thing that I realize holds me back sometimes is sometimes I'll shrink myself down or something to kind of just fit in. So a big proponent of this would be like, you know, I use humor as a little bit of a defense mechanism, right? Because I'm like, oh, at least I'm funny. So a lot of people wouldn't take me seriously. They'd be like, oh, this person's funny, but they're not intellectually smart. And then I met you and you're like, you're an intelligent being. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And you're like, no.
Good impersonation.
Right, exactly. But you kind of sat me down one day and you're like, you are very smart. And I'm like, no, because a lot of people tell me I'm not smart and all these things. And you're like, no, I see you shrink yourself down. But there are little glimpses and moments where you just let the intellect shine through. And I think that's just part of what I've been processing today and working through. So I just kind of was asking the question, like, how do we stop shrinking ourselves down and like fully realize our potential, I guess? Is that broad? I don't know.
Well, okay, so let's get into that.
Okay.
So I think the first thing that we would need to do is ask ourselves, are we shrinking ourselves? Where are we shrinking ourselves? And then maybe sit with that a little bit and say, okay, why are we shrinking ourselves?
Right.
Right. So I just happened to notice that in you through observation.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yes,
from knowing
please.
you. So like when I very first met you, you were still in your early, yeah, I could talk, in your early college days, right?
Right.
And I would observe through the different gatherings that were happening at my home with the other friends, right?
Yeah.
And watching the interaction. And so I had a different perspective than those there. And I did happen to notice that you would shrink yourself down and play off the funny person, you know, and because of getting to know you and you shared in season 1 some of the things that you were kind of going through and experiencing, right?
Right, yeah.
And some of that has to do with different life's traumas that we might hide inside of ourselves to protect ourselves.
Right.
And until we can help ourselves to feel safe, it would be hard to come back out.
Oh,
right?
for sure, yeah.
So, so first it's recognizing that we're doing it. Then it's about identifying where is it in my life that I'm not feeling safe, or at some point maybe in the past I wasn't feeling safe and I carried that forward to the present.
That's a big one.
Yes. So it takes a little detective work. Right. And we all could do this. We all have the skills to do it. It's a matter of actually being brave enough to take the time to just kind of dig down and figure that out. It doesn't have to take a lifetime to do.
Really? I feel like that's sometimes I hear that from people like, oh, it's going to be really hard, or it's just a very long, tedious process. That's why sometimes I would like put it off, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think that's programming that we've been given and handed down through the years, especially like from the field of psychology. I mean, no shade on them.
Yeah, she's using that word right.
Thank you, Sherry, for teaching it to me. But you know, it's a very valued profession. It has, you know, it has its value for sure. I'm not devaluing it by any means, but it is also a field that's still evolving and they're still discovering things. Right.
That's a huge one.
Right. And then as we grow as a society too, you know, no matter where we are on the planet, as we're growing, then, and the technology is growing, then our understandings are growing, of how the human psyche works. We're understanding generational patterns. We're understanding all of these other things, right? That could be happening. So because we are advancing so much in all of those areas, then that means as human beings, as we work through some of the trauma and the junk, we can work through that fast too.
Right. Oh, yeah, true.
Right. So you know what? We're God beings.
Ooh, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So being a God being, because we have God in us, we are a God. We are the children of God.
Yeah.
So we have access to all that there is.
Right.
And if we open ourselves up to that, then that the team being like your spiritual support, like
right.
your support that's not embodied,
right? Yeah.
Not embodied, meaning not here as a human being,
right? Yes.
So it's infinite. Ooh. And all we need to do is just open ourselves up to those possibilities, and we can reach up for that help, and that help will come in and help shine that light within inside of us to say, hey, yeah, this is it. And being brave enough and taking the time to embrace that and to dig down into that, to bring it to the light.
Right.
Right. And then to look at it and not judge it. That's the hardest part.
That's a big one. Yes.
Right. Because in judging it, then that makes us more afraid of it.
For sure. Yes.
That makes us feel ashamed. Right. And shame is a tough one.
Yeah.
And it's not about judging. It's not about feeling shame. It's not about any of that. It's just about recognizing, okay, well, let's heal this piece. This is probably what drives me from shrinking inside of myself, from wanting to be invisible, because really that's what you were doing.
Oh, okay.
Even though you're playing it off as the comedic.
Yeah.
The stupid comedic.
Yes.
Sorry to be so harsh there, but it's kind of like makes my point.
Right.
Is that, I'm like one of the Three Stooges here. I'm going to trip over this thing and fall and clunk my head and laugh. Ha, 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 ha.
Oh,
Wasn't
for
that
sure.
funny, everybody? So that no one would recognize just how brilliant you really are.
You're right. I think for me, that was a large part of it. And then like the unworthiness piece, because I'm like, if I show my true intellect, what if someone challenges me and I'm like wrong or off, or they prove that I am dumb? I'm going to just stay down here where it's easy, where it's like.
Right. And then what if they were to prove that?
Right.
Then what?
I don't know.
Exactly. So our brain is going in and telling us all these stories.
Right.
So what? Anybody who's rude enough to want to call you out on it and then call you stupid, well, I'm sorry to say, they're not a very loving individual.
Yes.
And what they're sharing with you should not hold as much weight.
Right.
You know? But that comes from self-confidence to be able to stand up from those pieces, right?
Right.
And then our confidence could be low because, again, this trauma that has happened to us, right, is what beats down the self-confidence piece, because we're like, somebody's maybe pounded on us in a certain way.
Right.
Like maybe it's saying disparaging words at us.
Right.
Or maybe it's like, shh, you're too loud. Shh.
Yeah.
No, can you not laugh that loud? Shh. I don't want to see you happy. Shh. What do you mean? Oh, no, you cannot have people over. No. Shh.
Girl, what accent is that?
I have no idea.
I love that though.
But the point being is we receive information from all around us in many different ways, and as we receive that information in, our mind will take that information and sometimes translate it in a way that shrinks us, that we allow it to shrink us.
Yes.
So I dare anybody listening here to do this experiment, right? To stop and realize, like, as this information's coming at you, you get to decide how you want to think about it, how you're going to feel about it. Because really, it's about, how do I really want to feel about this information?
Question, just for clarity, just for anyone listening. So at first, when I think you told me this before, how do you want to feel about it? And at first I was like, oh, should I not feel emotions of like happy, sad, or whatever? But I guess you kind of clarified saying you feel the emotions, but you get to like judge it. Does that make sense?
So yeah, I'll get there.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So something's coming in towards you.
Right.
Right. let's just say that it's somebody who's really mad and angry and they're screaming at you.
Right.
You first get to decide how you're going to feel about this, right? So how am I really going to feel about this person screaming at me? Am I going to be angry at that? Am I going to be obstinate, or am I going to have this level of empathy?
Oh, wow.
Ooh, what? What? Right? And then when you make that decision in that like less of a split second, like nanosecond of time, it then feeds your thought about it. Right? And then it'll drive your action. So yeah, we could still I'm not saying don't feel your feels, because we're human beings. We have feelings.
Right.
And we need to feel our feels, and you welcome your feelings in.
Yes.
But you still get to decide what you're going to hang on to. And you still get to decide how you're going to allow it to drive your actions, your thoughts. So I choose to try to receive things as positively as possible, knowing that even if somebody is cutting me off in traffic or somebody is in my face about something, right? Mm-hmm. That's their problem.
Right.
I get to decide in that moment, am I going to make this my problem?
Yes.
So that being said, I'm going to say it again because this is really important.
Okay.
When somebody comes at you with whatever emotion, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever that is, but they're coming towards you with their emotion, or they're cutting you off in traffic, which could potentially cause an emotion in you,
right,
or a reaction in you, but it's something that somebody else is doing,
right,
and that is kind of crossing your path. You get to choose how you're going to receive it. You get to choose how you're going to feel about it and think about it.
Yes.
Which then drives how you're going to be reacting to it, right?
Oh, for sure.
So with that all being said, why not choose to not accept if it's a heavy, denser energy, you don't need to accept it, have compassion for it, welcome it to move through you. And then if it does trigger something inside of you, then you go rest with that by yourself. You know what I mean? Like off to the side when you have a moment.
Right.
So,
that's also very big too.
It is, because then this way your mojo's not getting ruined. Then you're not feeling like, traumatized by them, because this now you're empowering you, and you have control over you,
right,
and what you're going to receive in from your world around you and your experience.
Right.
Of course, as we're young people and children, and we're receiving different experiences through our parental units, or guardians or our siblings or whatever, we may not have those skills unless our parental figures are teaching those skills to us, right?
Right.
So we may not have that skill, but now that if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're not a young child, because I can't imagine that they've just come across this one. But I could imagine it.
I mean, you could, but
recognizing that now,
right,
and then putting that lens on what happened during your childhood, and maybe that's some of the trauma. We're going to call it trauma, but maybe that's some of what you're holding on, which is shrinking you down and causing you to hide.
Okay.
So if you can take all of that lens there and then bring that up, and maybe a good visual, I think, that we've shared together is that trauma that happened to you as a young person. Bring that up as your younger self. Have that conversation with your younger self.
Oh, I've done that a couple times.
Yeah, and it's pretty empowering, don't you think?
I feel like it is, just kind of visualizing your younger self and what you would say to that individual.
Right. And or even just say, hey, here's my younger self here with all of that traumatic stuff that's happened to him, and they say, hey, look, we're okay.
We're okay.
We're really okay.
Yeah.
And we're safe. And your younger self will say, yeah, but what if somebody calls you out and says you're stupid? And then you say, oh, but you know what? That's okay, because we're confident. We're a confident young person. We're a confident young adult. We're a confident older adult to say that, you know what? That's just their opinion, and one person's opinion doesn't define us.
Right.
So we're okay. Are you sure? And this is your younger self saying, are you sure? And challenging you. And that's where you got to come back and say, you know what? We're safe. We're well. We're okay. And it doesn't matter doesn't matter whatever happens to you, you are bigger and stronger than anything that could ever happen to you.
That is empowering.
Yeah, it's a good mantra, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Someone should write that on a shirt or something.
Or something. So it does take a little bit of conscious effort.
Right.
To place on oneself to help one to not hide and shrink down. But hey, if that's an experiment you want to run, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
I know for me, it was being invisible.
Ah, okay.
Right. So for you would kind of dummy yourself down and be the fun clown because on some level you felt that you needed to be the entertainer to make everybody feel comfortable because
that's what I was told anyway.
Yeah, but in truth, you were feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? For me, it was about being invisible. I needed to be invisible so I wouldn't get hurt anymore.
So how would that kind of play out?
So it would just literally, I would just shrink into the back of the room.
Oh, okay. So like an event shows up, you're just like, I'm in the back, I'm not talking to anybody.
Or I would I physically would hide, or or I'd just be very quiet and not really put myself forward. This was the younger version of me.
Right.
Until I realized, you know what? I like to be heard.
Yes, she does, guys. She livens up any party. It's fun.
And now there is no hiding this.
No. Everyone noticed it, and I love it. I love every second of it.
And it's fun. And I was sharing with Sherry earlier, too, that I think for me, different life experiences has really helped me to realize that statement I was saying earlier, that bigger than anything that could ever happen to me.
Right.
Is that so I spent a lot of my life not breaking the rules. Oh my goodness, I could not break the rules.
Yeah.
If I broke the rules, oh my goodness, I'm going to be in so much trouble. And I can remember, was it about maybe 15 years ago? I was meeting somebody at a college like within their community, and the college was on Christmas break, and they wanted me to meet them there, and I got confused about which entrance I was supposed to go in.
Right.
And I went into the exit, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the cops are going to get me. The cops are going to give me a ticket. Oh no, how shameful. I am so embarrassed about me. Oh no, I can't do this. I'm doing something wrong. I'm breaking the law.
Hope the cops pulled you over.
And then, you fast forward a few more years later, like a lot of years later, and these other events happen, and now, I'm like, wait a minute. Who cares?
Right. Who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm not blatantly out there to break the law, because I do respect that there are rules that we should live within to make sure that we're all living in harmony, right? So that we all know how to behave.
Sure, true.
But there are times when, there are some things that will be bent really hard.
Just whatever.
Or sometimes you just go in the exit by accident and you don't overjudge it. And you're just kind of like, okay, I'm not dying. I will be fine.
Everything will be okay.
And if I get pulled over, I just explain to the police officer, I was so confused.
I was just so confused.
But during these later experiences, and realizing that, if I get found out, I don't die.
That's nice. I'm glad you're alive.
I don't die. I'm not nailed onto a cross. Oof. I'm not being ostracized. Well, or some stoned. People are probably still doing that to me, but that's their problem, not mine. And I think that was the ultimate lesson for me, is to realize that, hey, it's okay to be fully seen. Because it doesn't matter what other people think. It only matters what I think. Ooh, and what I feel about me.
That's empowering.
Amen, brother, sister.
Tuba.
So, Sherry.
Wow, that was good.
Right?
Snaps and claps.
Thank
I loved
you.
that.
Any other comments or questions or?
No. Do I have any questions? No. You answered that like fully and entirely and gave examples and showed your work. So no. Thank you so much though. I do appreciate that. That definitely helps with like this, not trying to shrink and stuff like that. And just going through maybe like the trauma and just like deciphering it and being like, you're okay.
Well, thank you. And hey, listen, to those who are listening, if anyone does have any questions or would like, anything would like me to elaborate more on something that was said here, please shoot us an email. Our website link will be
in the show notes. Yeah, we're going to post that in the summary. So definitely check that out, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember that you are bigger than anything that you are going through or anything that is happening around you.